Welcome to a new Team CGC 9.8 video. So I think now is a great time to buy X-Men 9.8 comic books. And a couple of reasons. X-Men is just such a big brand. And, there's been quite a few movies over the last 20 or 25 years or so. And I think if you went up to like a lay person on the street and were like, what's Wolverine and Cyclops a part of? Probably about 98% of people are going to say X-Men. And also, hopefully we got some MCU X-Men movies coming in the next 3 to 5 years. So, certainly kind of now I would say is the time to buy, rather than when those are confirmed, then, the hype will start and the prices will be a little bit higher during that time, I think. So on the short list today, I just kind of chose a random batch. Pretty much any big Uncanny X-Men key issue that you love is going to be pretty great, I think, if you got a long-term time horizon. But let's have a look here. First one, an Uncanny X-Men 221. And there's been quite a few on and off rumors of Mr. Sinister is going to be the villain in the next MCU X-Men. So if that works out, this book will do well, certainly, in that kind of environment. But a pretty great collector item overall. 1,630 9.8s in a blue label. 27.2% is the 9.8 ratio. And, for like kind of a later 80s book, that doesn't look the best on the census with the ratio, and, quite a few of them for a villain first appearance. So myself, I ended up going for the newsstand edition, and I got a really great deal on the newsstand. It was, I think it was in March of 2020. Right as things were just about to really heat up there, I got this for $250, along with my Uncanny X-Men 141 newsstand 9.8 for $350. And both of them are kind of kicking around $1,000 right now. So that ended up being just a great buy for myself. But some prices for a direct edition, because in the short term, last year or so, they're cooling down. Direct edition $400 and $445. I saw some recent auctions going. I think that's the kind of price range. Get lucky on this one, you get it pretty close to $400. Newsstand editions, I did see a few sell recently. One for $770 and another for $1,026. So I think that's a good range for the newsstand edition of a first appearance of Mr. Sinister. But hopefully Mr. Sinister comes out in those movies. If not, still just kind of a big X-Men key issue that if you're an X-Men fan, you love to just kind of have it and hold it. But yeah, hopefully Mr. Sinister does come out looking awesome in the movies. Okay, next one is an NYX number 3 in a 9.8. First appearance of X-23. Maybe a bit of a speculation that an X-23 gets into these new MCU X-Men movies looking awesome. I think if that happens, there's some pretty big upside to this book. But this one just does stand on its own. It's like any Wolverine key issue, or Wolverine related key issue, let's say, for this one, does pretty well over time. This is one of the biggest key issues pretty much from the kind of the 2000s, I guess you could say. There's a 2,089 9.8s in the universal grade blue label, 39.1%, the 9.8 ratio. So of all the copies sent to CGC, 39.1% of them are 9.8 super high grade. Saw one recently sell for $1,825, and you kind of see them go like $1,700 and something. So that's kind of right in the fair value range for an NYX number 3. Yeah, big key issue. Yeah, even if an X-23 doesn't come out in the movies, this one's going to be a great one long term, and it has done really well as far as values. I remember. Yeah, getting into the hobby 2018, 2019, this one was, $800, $900. So even with a cool down in the last year or so, this one going right around 1,800. Okay, moving on. Next one, an Incredible Hulk 340. And I might be thinking like a bit of a weird pick on an X-Men list, I guess, for an Incredible Hulk 340. But I think a possibility for the MCU X-Men, because Avengers was such a big hit with Disney and Marvel, the movies and stuff like that. Maybe they bring in the Hulk or the Avengers as a guest on this X-Men movie, and maybe Wolverine and Hulk fight somehow. I'm not saying they're gonna have like a Wolverine versus Hulk movie, but maybe just in the movie they go at it. And if that happens, I think a Hulk 340 and a Incredible Hulk 181, of course, would do so well. And Hulk 340 is a great collector item in a super high grade for a late 1980s comic. There's a 897, 9.8, so less than 1,000 of them for really popular Todd McFarlane and a Bob Wycheck cover. 11% is the 9.8 ratio, so the lower the better with the 9.8 percentages. Of all the graded copies sent to CGC, only 11% of them are super high grade 9.8. So I did see a newsstand edition in this one. I got 4 of them in the direct for this one. It's one of my favorite books. But a newsstand I do not have, and it went for $3,901. So again, big money for a newsstand, and that auction just ended about a week or two ago on eBay. You don't see those go in an auction. That's usually once or twice a year on eBay. You'll see a newsstand Hulk 340. In a direct edition, though, 1,269, 1,300. Actually, in the last month or so, the market's been cooling down a little bit, and I haven't saw too many 9.8s in this one sell in kind of a fire sale auction. You might be able to get it kind of closer to 1,000, 1,100 rather than, these prices, 1,300, 1,269 was from, I'm pretty sure, about 2 months ago. Yeah, I really haven't been able to find any very recent sales except that newsstand. But yeah, on its own, especially if you're a McFarlane fan, great one to collect. But hopefully Wolverine and Hulk duke it out in the movie. I think that makes a lot of sense. They might as well just do a big budget. First appearance of Wolverine in comic books was Wolverine and Hulk fighting. It would be cool to have that in a big budget on the big screen. Okay, I'll move on though. Uncanny X-Men 266 in a 9.8. I've touched on this one off and on as just a great one that you could buy if you're an X-Men fan, and one that should do well if the X-Men hype really ratchets up here. And to be honest, yeah, all of these, the first 4 anyway. The last one's a little bit more speculative, but the first 4, if you got a long-term time horizon on them, regardless of if there's an X-Men movie or anything like that, if you're thinking 10, 15, 20 years to hold and enjoy these, you should do, well on these X-Men key issues. Even if a movie doesn't happen. For 266, though, great 90s cover, super memorable. First full appearance of Gambit, 3,182, 9.8 in a blue label, 18.6%, the 9.8 ratio, and saw a recent direct edition sell for $825. Saw one on Comic Link Go that was looking really nice. Yeah, nice centering and everything for $890. So I think that's kind of the range on the direct. A newsstand edition, going back some time ago, it was $2,247 I saw one sell for. I think you might be able to get those a little under $2,000 now. I think the market's cooled down. That was, yeah, you don't see too many of these newsstand editions sell. I think that was from about 2 months ago. You might be able to do a kind of 1,900 to 2,000 on the newsstand, but just a no-brainer. And hopefully X-Men gets in the movies. But I think it's one that's cooled down in the short term, and you can think about buying them if you're thinking about grabbing some X-Men comic books right now. Okay, and the last one, a bit more speculative, I think. It's an X-Men number 205 in a 9.8, first appearance of Hope Summers, with a pretty cool Mr. Sinister cover on this one. Yeah, this one's from 2008. And yeah, Hope Summers, pretty speculative, I would say, if she gets into these new movies. Maybe there's some potential here. Hope Summers is the daughter of Cable, so another maybe less or a more conventional way, I guess, to play this would be a New Mutants 87, first appearance of Cable. That's a pretty great one in a 9.8 as well. I think those are around 400 to 500, or yeah, maybe around 400. I think with things cooling down, you could probably get one closer to 400. But at X-Men 205, first Hope Summers, she's sort of prophesized to be the Messiah for the mutants and stuff like that. So, maybe they make a movie and maybe she's young and all that and everyone else is fighting because she's the Messiah. That could happen. But for this one, there's 171 9.8s in the blue label. So certainly not as popular as, all the other books we've talked about. A one of 171, 43.2%, the 9.8 ratio. I saw one sell, there's not too many of these out there, and there's not too many sales on eBay recently, to be honest. But I've went back in my notes. I've covered this one off and on. $281.99. And yeah, I think if you're an X-Men fan, this is kind of one to want, with Hope Summers being such a huge, powerful, important mutant. But as a 1 of 171, it's probably a decent spec, let's say, leading into hopefully some MCU X-Men movies. And yeah, $281.99, like $275 right in that range. A 1 of 171. I think it is kind of worth it, especially certainly if you're an X-Men fan. And yeah, this one, it's a bit from a bit of maybe a lost era, you'd want to say, where X-Men books I don't think were as popular as they were in kind of the early 90s during this 2008 period. But maybe a movie could catch people off guard, and this one could do well. So yeah, I wanted to include it, maybe a little bit more of a speculative pick in the list. Okay, we'll leave it at that. Just a short list. As I said, these are pretty much just random ones that I thought of. There's so many big key issues, X-Men key issues, that you can consider besides these ones. But we'll leave it at that. Thanks so much for watching, team. I'll see you on the next one. If you're liking my content, please subscribe and hit that bell, and I'll keep you updated on future videos.